The man in black picks up a big win at the Valley. An old veteran pulls the double on the hard clay. We head down to Orange County for this week's White Flag segment.
Start your engine!
Sounds good to me. Race Pro Weekly. Hello and welcome to another edition of Race Pro Weekly. I'm your host, Mike Warren. As the Lebanon Valley Speedway readied for its second annual JC Flach Memorial Modified Feature event, it was only a wonder when the next first-time winner was going to make its way to victory lane. Could it be on the night honoring the late modified competitor? Balloons being lifted in honor of the 77J of JC Flach, as this race would be his memorial, as Jim Nichols would be driving the car around, pacing the field before we got started, where Matt Papello would take the race lead in the early going. You see the 20 of Brett Hearn off the pace. He would break a rocker arm on the number 20 machine, which was result in a DNF on the night. Papello would be your race leader. Donnie Corellis would be on his way up through the field, looking to go back-to-back. Kenny Tremont as well, as he go to the inside of Brian Berger to push his way up into the number 3 spot here in the early going of the feature event. Keith Flach, of course, going to make his way to the inside of Robbie Pitcher as well, as he would be on his way up through the field trying to win this one in honor of his brother. And then here comes J.R. Hefner trying to make a bid as well, and Kenny Tremont to the inside of Kyle Hoffman. Hoffman would catch up to the 42 of Matt Papello. He'd barrel it to the inside and off at turn number 4. He would take the race lead away as the man in black was on the move. Hefner would work underneath the 42 of Papello as he'd slide into the number 2 spot with only one spot to go, as he would try to take the race lead away from Hoffman. However, as Corellis would make his way up through the field, getting by the 43 of Flach at the end of the event, it would be all Kyle Hoffman up front as the man in black takes his first career win on the high banks.
We've been after this one forever, and it's a dream come true in some ways. We worked extra hard this week to get the car ready to go, and it paid off tonight. This is an emotional win for me, for the Flach family, I've lost my grandfather and my Uncle Sonny, not too long ago, and to win tonight was absolutely incredible.
The man in black takes win number 1 of his career on the high banks. J.R. Hefner would come home second, Matt Papello third, Kenny Tremont fourth, and the electrifying DC Donnie Corellis fifth. Mark Johnson's win a week ago at Glen Ridge pulled him within 4 points of Bobby Varon as we moved into the month of June. The last time Johnson won, it was Varon's turn to strike. Would it happen again? Eric Mack and Chad Miller would bring the field to the green at the Ridge. They open up into turn number 1 and 2. It would be Eric Mack on the front with Mike Solon second early, as the heavy hitters would make their way towards the front of the field. You just see Kenny Tremont on his way up. Tremont would move to the inside and take the number 3 spot away from Jeff Rockefeller. Then the Bloomfield Florist machine of Bobby Varon would follow to the inside of him as well. Caution would come out on the speedway for the C88 of Chad Miller early in the event, which would put the two 711s up on the front row. Sol would go ahead of Mack for the time being, but Eric Mack would slide back under him, and now you got Bobby Varon to the inside of Kenny Tremont trying to take that position away. Varon would get by him and move into the number 3 spot, and then the number 2 spot as Tremont would follow, and then Varon would go underneath Eric Mack, and he would be your new race leader at about the halfway point. Tremont would find something up on the outside of the racetrack as he would go around the 711X of Eric Mack, and Mark Johnson would look to follow to the inside. However, Johnson would have a flat tire on the Soul Trailer Repair 3J machine, as that would bring out the caution. Off of the restart, it would put Kenny Tremont on the outside of Bobby Varon, and then it would be Tremont powering to the outside, and he would take the race lead on the 85 of Varon as they come towards the closing stages. However, as Varon tried to go back under him for the race lead, the caution would come out again for Mark Johnson, who got spun off of the back straightaway. Off of the restart, Varon gets a jump coming into the inside lane and going up into turn number 1 and 2. Tremont would try to battle back, but the 85 would slide up in front of him and take his lane away. And now Wilder would come into the fray as he would try to get by the 115. Final time through turn number 3 and 4. It's Varon time at the Ridge once again as he picks up the victory. Bobby Varon takes home the victory. Kenny Tremont will come home in second. Jeremy Wilder third. Eric Mack fourth. And Craig Hansen fifth. So far in Orange County this season has been a mix of young guns and veterans getting to the front. With Johnny Lito picking up the win last week, was it time for the old guard to strike again? Nostalgia night at the Orange County Fair Speedway as drivers from the past making their way in, giving a little autograph session for the fans before things got going as the modified feature would begin with Steve Dodd and Jerry Higbee leading the field to the green up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time, and it would be Steve Dodd leading them back down as they completed lap number 1. Chuck McKee and Tim Heinle would go into a battle. As you see, McKee would go to the inside lane of the number 1 machine down the back straightaway. As they come back around, McKee would switch lanes to the outside, and he would complete the pass on the number 1 of Heinle as they continue to move their way up through the field. Last week's winner, Johnny Lito, right there with the 33 and a third of Tommy Meyer right to his right as well, as a pair of 33s would fight their way up. But it would be Chuck McKee who would get by Mike Ruggiero and then set his sights on Clinton Mills, trying to get by as he continued to work his way into the top 5. He'd slide up in front of Chris Schultz and now just have Higbee and Dodd right in front of him. He would go around the outside of Higbee for the number 2 spot on the outside lane and then set his sights on Steve Dodd, and he would nose ahead at the halfway point of the event as McKee would take the race lead using that outside lane. McKee was hooked up as he would pick up the win at the Orange County Fair Speedway. Chuck McKee would pick up the win. Steve Dodd would finish in the number 2 spot. Jerry Higbee third, Mike Ruggiero fourth, and Clinton Mills would round out your top 5. It's now time for this week's fan poll question, which is, at your local racetracks, what is your favorite class that runs each and every week? Log on to the Facebook or Twitter page on Race Pro Weekly, and your answers may be read next week. Let's take a look at the answers from last week's question. If you had to choose one as the better event between Super Dirt Week or the World Finals, what would you choose? And it turns out that 65% of you say the World Finals, while the other 35% go with Super Dirt Week.
The action, the battles, the excitement. Get ready for 800 horsepower of ground-shaking racing. The Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds are coming to your town. Be there to witness the mighty Big Blocks.
The Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds invades Albany-Saratoga Speedway to battle for $10,000 to win at Brent Hearn's The Big Show 6. Presented by Recovery Sports Grills, Ferris Mowers, and VP Racing Fuels. Tuesday, July 8th, Albany-Saratoga Speedway, the great race place.
Performance, quality, service. That's DMC Racing Products. Hundreds of name brand parts, competitive prices. That's DMC. DMC Racing Products, race to win. Off at the Glen Ridge Motorsports Park. While Bobby Varon did pick up the victory, he almost did not make it out for the feature as a steering box broke on the 85 machine during the heat race. Craig Hansen was there to lend him one, and the rest was history as Varon would go on for win number 3 of the season. To say that Brett Hearn has been dominant at the Albany-Saratoga Speedway over the past 5 weeks would be an understatement. Was it time for someone else to give Brett a run for his money? Track promoter Lyle DeVore admiring his work on the track prep as we would get going with our 35-lap modified feature event where it would be Matt Depew and C.G. Morey leading the field to the green in an effort to see who could stop the Jersey Jet Brett Hearn's 4-race win streak. Depew would have the early race lead. You see Brett Wright going underneath to try to take the number 2 spot away here in the early going. Wright would slide to the inside, and Morey would have a little trouble as he'd go up over the banking in turn number 1 and 2. He'd fall back mid-pack right with the 3D of Matty D, Matt DiLorenzo, and the 20 of Brett Hearn as they would be on their way up towards the front. Keith Flack and Don Rocca would put a battle as they tried to set sights on the 7-11 of Jamike Soul, and Mark Johnson would make his way up through the field, getting by 3 cars coming off of turn number 2, but that is behind the Jersey Jet here with 14 to go. Brett Wright would slide up into the race lead in front of the 667 of Matt Depew in the J&D Waste Equipment machine, but Brett Hearn, pulling one of his usual unbelievable moves to the inside, gets third and second away, and now a caution would come out for the 14G of Brian Gleason, which would put Hearn on the back bumper of Brett Wright. Off of the restart, Wright would go to the low side, which would work for him so far in the event. Mark Johnson tried to stick his nose under Hearn, but then it would be Hearn to the outside of Brett Wright for the race lead, and he would get it on lap number 29. Mark Johnson would go to work to the inside of Brett Wright to take the number 2 spot away at the end of it, but for the 5th straight week, the Jersey Jet does it again at Albany-Saratoga.
Quite honestly, I didn't know who the leader was, and I was just fighting my way up through the pack there, and I thought the 14 was a lap car. And when he started to try to go back by me on the yellow, I said, well, I guess he must be the leader, because I really didn't have any idea. Just phenomenal, really. I mean, the car handles so good. It couldn't be any more fun.
Can anybody stop Brett Hearn as he picks up another win? Mark Johnson would finish in second. The Bravina Rocket, Keith Flach third. Rookie modified campaigner Brett Wright would come home in fourth, and Jeremy Wilder would round out the top 5. It was a very tough night for Matt DiLorenzo and the crew at the Fonda Speedway this past Saturday night, dealing with track condition battles throughout the entire night and not getting a car on the racetrack till almost 10 p.m. It would set the stage for a modified feature you wouldn't want to forget. Matt DiLorenzo needing all the help he could get running the track in on Saturday night, as he would have issues throughout the entire event, not getting a car onto the track until almost 10 as the feature would begin with the Apollo Rocket, Josh Hohenforce and AJ Romano going up into turn number 1 and 2. It would be the Apollo Rocket with the early lead as Bodie Bellinger sat in third trying to catch the 16 of Romano. Almost had a good look there, but Romano would pull away. Stuart Friesen trying to make his way up through the field. He'd work to the inside of Jeremy Wilder for position as they make their way up through the field. Now Elmo Reckner would go in and muscle away the 14G of Brian Gleason as they fought through lap traffic for position for a spot in the top 5. Now Bobby Varon would go to the inside of the 17 of Reckner. He would get hooked up onto his bumper, and Brian Gleason narrowly misses them both as he would keep going, as that would send both Varon and Reckner to the pits. Off of the restart, Hohenforce would take the advantage once again as he'd lead him up into turn number 1 and 2, and now Stuart Friesen would be on the move. He'd go to the outside of Gleason for spot number 5, then move to the inside of Darwin Green and make it look easy on this tacky track for spot number 4. Heading down the back straightaway would be the 1J of Bobby Varon as he would break heading down the backstretch. A non-point race, however, with the circumstances, so he doesn't get hurt in the standings into tonight. Friesen would try to make a move on Bellinger for the number 3 spot on the restart as they go up again, and now Bellinger going for second on AJ Romano up in turn number 2, but this would all be behind Josh Hohenforce. He picks up career win number 1 at the Track of Champions.
Definitely helped being up front. The track wasn't very wide tonight, but it was nice that you could actually use the power with a big block tonight. Real happy, and just got to thank all my guys that, gives me a hand and has been sticking with me, because it's been a while since I've had a win.
The Apollo Rocket takes the victory. AJ Romano would finish in second, Bodie Bellinger third, Stuart Friesen fourth, and Brian Gleason would round out the top 5. The 20-lap Pro Stock feature event on the High Banks would see Ricky Duzlak, your driver, leading him up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. Jake Corbin back after a week hiatus, looking to make his way up through the field. You see him in front of the 463 of Daniel Sanchez as Jason Casey rides for position as well. Corbin would be on the move as you see him slide up in front of the 315 of John Ruthier to take the number 3 spot away. Now he'd push to the inside of Chuck Towsley and pull the slide job on him as well, as now he would pull in right behind your race leader. Corbin would have a great look at Duzlak going into turn number 3 and 4, but the caution would come out onto the speedway for the 44 of Brian Walsh, which would bring them back together. Off of the restart, it was the 8 of Jake Corbin taking the race lead as contact between your second and third place drivers and Duzlak and Yetman as they would get together. Duzlak could go up to the outside wall, and Rob Yetman would break something, putting him up into the turn 3 wall, as that would end a great run for the 143 machine. A restart would put Robbie Speed to Jake Corbin's left, but it would be Corbin off the restart getting the advantage, as another incident was happening as Hugh Page not too happy. Brian Walsh also involved in it. Appears he was not happy with the 463 of Daniel Sanchez. Off the restart, Corbin would continue to lead the race. His speed would try to give him everything he could from the inside lane, looking for win number 3, but it wasn't to be had as Jay Corbin would pick up his first win of the 2014 season. So Jay Corbin grabs the victory in the Pro Stocks. Robbie Speed would finish in second, Chuck Towsley third, Victor Hopkins fourth, and Frank Twing would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night in the small blocks, it would be Alan Hotailing. In the Pure Stock feature events, it would be Sean Perez, Larry Perez, and Gary O'Brien. 4-cylinder single cam winner would be Don Curley, and Kenny Stager would get the win in the dual cam feature event.
We're here at Fonda Speedway for the POWRI Midget Series based out of Connecticut. We're here with Adam Pearson. Adam, give everybody a little bit of a background. Where are you from?
I'm actually from East Corinth, Vermont. I race Glen Ridge Speedway. I've raced there for 14 years, actually in a dirt modified. Last year I kind of got into these cars. I met a great owner, Frank Manafort. He's a great man. He put me in one of the cars and never been in one, and we started doing pretty well, so I guess I locked myself in for driver's seat. I started in sportsman coupes at Glen Ridge Speedway, and then went to modifieds, and then now I run modifieds there, a little bit in New York, and then I run these for Frank Manafort.
All right, and how are you doing this year so far?
I got a couple wins. I've won two at Glen Ridge, and I've gotten one win at Legion Speedway in the POWRI Series, one of these. So I've gotten 3 wins this year and 4 top 3s so far. So we're starting off good, and hopefully it continues that way.
Now, have you ever run here at Fonda Speedway before?
Nope, I've actually not. 11 years ago, I came out here to run a big race in the 358s back in the day, and it rained out, so we never got a chance to go, and I haven't been back since, because my home track runs every Saturday night. So now I'm kind of traveling a little bit this year and missing home races and not running for points and just traveling around. So I'm looking forward to running here.
Who do you need to thank? Who's behind you here? Who you got for sponsors?
Well, the sponsors really is actually B&R Motorsports and Frank Manafort, FMR Racing, Black Watch Farm, it's his farm. Elliot Beaver Ridge is one of his crew guys that passed away this past year, and so he's one of the guys that used to be the top mechanic that worked on him, and now he's not around so much. Obviously now he's up in the sky watching us. So all the crew guys that come, JR, Paulie, new kid Zach.
It's now time for this week's Berkshire County Network Driver Spotlight with Lebanon Valley small block competitor Kim Lavoie.
Race Pro Weekly is brought to you by Racing Electronics, your #1 source for professional race communications worldwide. Sheldon Oil Services, recycling for your future. Rainmaker Productions, co-promoters of the Lou Lazzaro Memorial Race at Fonda Speedway. And by Pilot Graphic Designs, signs, banners, decals, and so much more. Give Dan a call today at 315-539-3484.
Eve of Destruction returns with a vengeance to Lebanon Valley Speedway Tuesday, June 24th. There's a metal massacre in the valley with rollover madness, trailer racing, and a full contact school bus race. We hired legendary thrill master Tim Chitwood and his band of lunatics to put the car in carnage with our wildest stunts ever. Everything destroyed. Let's see your video game do that. Gates open at 5, devastation at 6, Eve of Destruction, Lebanon Valley Speedway, Tuesday, June 24th. This time we've gone too far.
Sayers Auto Wrecking Incorporated is a towing service and an auto salvage yard. We offer 24-hour roadside assistance and damage-free towing. Our wreckers are radio dispatched for your convenience, and we're AAA approved for your peace of mind. On the auto salvage side, we pay top dollar for junk vehicles and sell a wide variety of used auto parts. We also buy scrap metals, including aluminum, copper, steel, and brass. You can learn more about all we do by calling Sayers Auto Wrecking today at 413-358-4374.
There's only one place in the Capital Region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there.
2 laps to go for Tommy Proctor. Proctor going to go to the inside. We'll see what Mark Hughes has. Will Mark Hughes have to go? Proctor slips up just a little bit. Here comes Mark Hughes on the inside. And wheel to wheel. Door handle to door handle. And Mark Hughes goes by him on the back straightaway. Mark Hughes, your new leader here, and this time by, he will see the white flag. Mark Hughes will be hit through turn number 3 and 4. Mark Hughes is going to come off the corner, and he will win the Budget Sportsman feature. Second is the 58 of Tommy Proctor. Mark, on that last restart, you followed Tommy on the inside, and as soon as you saw the lane open up, you took advantage. Congratulations on being the victory lane.
Thanks a lot, thanks a lot. I knew I couldn't wait. I was trying to be patient. I was just hoping he was going to slip up the track and keep it parked on the bottom.
Final victory from Mark Hughes from 2012. The sportsmen leave the pole open in honor of Hughes, who passed away this past off-season. As the green flag would drop in the 25-lap feature event, it would be Nick Lucier up towards the front of the field. A lot of cars making their way up early, as it would be the 112 of Dave Baranowski Jr. on the outside, trying to make his way into the top 3. Rocky Warner decides early he's going to find something on the top side as he would make his way up, as now it would be the 22 of Timmy Hartman getting caught to the inside. He'd make a little bit of contact with the implement tire, but he'd get it back going. As Lucier leads, a little bit of contact down the front stretch as Jeff Watson, Burt Film, and again Scott Dool, whose bad luck continues, all involved in the incident. Off the restart, Joey Scarborough would make a move to the outside lane as Warner looked to crack the top 5. As now a battle for the race lead as Baranowski would find something underneath the Lucier's auto body, car number 3 of Nick Lucier. It would be the 112 of Baranowski taking the race lead down the back straightaway as Joey Scarborough would try to fight to the inside as well, but here comes the flying squirrel, turning the wick up on the outside. He had a lot more bite than anybody up on the top as he would make his way around and get not only the number 2 spot, but as they cross the line, he would be your race leader in the West End towing car number 79. As Warner would continue to lead, Joey Scarborough would do his best to get around the 112 of Baranowski for the number 2 spot, but this is all behind Rocky Warner as Warner will take the Mark Hughes Memorial feature event. Rocky Warner grabs another one in the Capital Region. Dave Baranowski Jr. would finish in 2nd, Joey Scarborough 3rd, Connor Cleveland 4th, and Derek McGrew would round out the top 5. Harry Shortway, street stock competitor at Orange County, racing for the final time after a 44-year career as we get started with the small block modified feature event, as it would be Chad Lodice and the 33 of Chuck McKee up front early, along with the 16 of Danny Creedon, as Creedon would try to go to the inside of McKee to try to take the number 2 spot away. They go 3 wide up into turn number 1 and 2. It looked like McKee would nose out ahead, but Lodice would have the race lead. Now McKee would slide up in front of him off of turn number 4, and it appeared he'd have the lead at the start-finish line, but it would be Lodice keeping it as the yellow would come out on the speedway for the 220 of John Ferrier. Off of the restart, contact between McKee and Creedon would leave Creedon way up to the high side, and that would bring out a caution as a right front flat tire on Creedon's machine. And off of the restart, it would be all Chuck McKee as he would pull away from the rest of the field. Out in front as a few other cars making their way up towards the front, the 717 of Everett Halbrick in that yellow machine. And then also you'd see John Finley go to the inside of Lodice for spot number 2, trying to take that away. But no one was touching Chuck McKee as he would pull off the double at Orange County on Saturday night. Chuck McKee going 2 for 2 on the night. Bob McGannon would come home in 2nd, Chad Lodice in 3rd, Rob Rowe 4th, and John Ferrier would round out the top 5. In the sportsman division, it would be Brian Crummell picking up the win. Charlie Donald would finish 1st in the street stocks, and Jimmy Johnson, no, not that Jimmy Johnson, would win the vintage race. 20-lap Pro Stock feature event would be the nightcap at the Fonda Speedway, as it would be Gus Hallner leading the field to the green and up into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. Cars would be on the move, but Randy Kosselman would get spun around down the backstretch as that would bring out the first caution of the evening. Off the restart, it will be Hallner again, but here comes Jim Normoyle in the black number 7 machine. He'd move to the inside trying to take the race lead. Heavy hitters will be on the move. Nick Stone, Kenny Gates, and Pete Broderson all trying to make their way up through the field. Meanwhile, another battle for the lead as the 7 of Normoyle will go to the inside of Hallner, and he would take the race lead and bring it down the back straightaway. Nick Stone would be on the move again, using the inside lane to his advantage, looking to pick up win number 11 on the season. Now Walt Brownell also getting up into the fray as well, including the 143 of Rob Yetman. Dennis Joslin going to go for a spin, collecting a few cars, including the 53 of Pete Broderson up on the outside lane. You see Walt Brownell narrowly getting through there. Now off the restart, it will be Chucky Domblewski firing ahead as something goes amiss on Halder's machine as he drops a few positions. Norm Oil would lead, but here comes the 27 of Nick Stone in a second and a pile up behind him, which would put Stone on his back bumper under the caution once again. Off of the restart, you would see Nick Stone power to the outside, and he would be your new race leader off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Stone would lead him up as Domblewski continued to close in on the 27. As you see Brownell and Yetman also fighting for position in the top 5, but Nick Stone would come around and he would pick up another victory at the Track of Champions. Nick Stone does it again. Chucky Domblewski would come home second, Walt Brownell third, Jim Normoyle fourth, and Rob Yetman invading from Lebanon Valley finishing in 5th. Other winners on the night, Dave Constantino would grab the win in the Sportsman, Street Stocks would go to John Brett, and the Midget feature would go to Adam Pearson. Sportsman feature at the Glen Ridge Motorsports Park would get started as it would be Kyle Dimitro and John Miller leading the field to the green. Dimitro would take the early race lead with Shea Montgomery falling into second. As you see a lot of cars on the move, including Montgomery, who would pull to the inside of the 15 of Dimitro looking for the number 1 spot. Rocky Warner, who has been dominant throughout the last 4 weeks, making his way past the flying onion of Tony Ferrone into turn number 3 and 4 as he would be on the way, as Montgomery would continue to pull to the inside of Dimitro, but just could not continue to get by him. 79 of Warner would still be on the move as he knocks that 12 of John Miller out of the way to move into the number 3 spot, and then would go underneath Montgomery and he would take the number 2 spot away. Warner would be on the back bumper of Kyle Dimitro, trying everything from the inside to the outside, but he wouldn't be able to get him as Kyle Dimitro picks up his first career win in the Sportsman at the Ridge. Kyle Dimitro takes his first career victory. Rocky Warner would finish in second, Shea Montgomery third, the Flying Onion Tony Ferrone fourth, and John Miller would come home in 5th. Other winners on the night, Nick Stone would grab another Pro Stock feature event victory. Brett Putnam would take the win in the Slingshots. Will Eastman would win the XL600 Modifieds. Keith Tesserow Sr. in the 4 cylinders. Midgets would go to Adam Pearson, and the Street Stock winner would be Dave Horning Sr. It's now time to take a look at our weekend battles. At the Accord Speedway, Dom Roselli would take the victory. Tommy Meyer would come home in second. Danny Creedon third. Jeff Hetzler fourth. And the Wild Child, Andy McKetty, would finish in 5th. Up on the asphalt in Plattsburgh at the Airport Park Speedway, Chris Bernold would take the victory. Good run by Patrice McGrail coming home in 3rd. At the Autodrome Granby Speedway, David Hebert would pick up the win. Steve Bernier second, Alain Boisvert third, Claude Brouillard fourth, and Steve Bernard rounding out the top 5. At Big Diamond, Jeff Strunk would get the win in the 4-star cars. Swinehart, Smith, Howard, and Laubach would finish in the top 5 behind him. Double features at the D-shaped Dirt Demon would find Vinny Vitale winning feature number 1. Decker, Phelps, Ward, and Shepard rounding out the top 5 in that one. In feature number 2, it would be Super Matt Shepard picking up the win. Larry White coming home second. Chuck Bauer third. Chad Phelps fourth. And Chris Heil rounding out the top 5. At the Brockville, Ontario Speedway, it would be Stefan LaFrance picking up another win. Ryan Arbonneau finishing in second. Jason Riddle third. Jordan McCready fourth. And Danny O'Brien fifth. At the Land of Legends, it would be Justin Ayers grabbing the victory. Another good run out of the Hurricane. Steve Payne coming in third. And Matt Billings with another strong showing coming home in 4th. At the Cornwall Motor Speedway, Brian McDonald would beat out Chris Raby for the win. Bruno LePage coming home third, Stefan LaFrance fourth, and Kyle Dingwall fifth. At the Fulton Speedway, flat to the mat, Fink would pick up the win. Matt Holsizer would finish in second, Dan Bowder third, Chad Phelps fourth, and Robbie Bellinger finishing in 5th. At the Grandview Speedway CVD, Craig Von Dorn would grab the victory. Mimi DeSantis coming home second, Jeff Strunk third, Doug Van Miller fourth, and Frank Cozy fifth. At the Merrittville Speedway, it would be Chad Chevalier finishing in the number 1 spot, Tyler McPherson second, Travis Cunningham third, Chad Brockman fourth, and Chris Steele fifth. Down at New Egypt, it would be Ryan Godown picking up the win, Billy Pouch finishing in second, Gary Butler third, Neil Williams fourth, and Willie Osmond fifth. At the Ransomville Speedway, it would be Eric Rudolph grabbing the win, with Vigneri Jr., Kerwin, Rickner, and Soucies making up the rest of the top 5. At the Utica Rome Speedway, it would be Super Matt Shepard picking up the win. Stuart Friesen coming home second, Larry White third, Mike Mahaney fourth, and Danny Varon rounding out the top 5. At the Woodhull Raceway, Mike Bills would pick up the win, Josh Noberga second, Billy Van Pelt third, Kenny Peoples fourth, and Stacy Jackson finishing home in 5th. The Choices 301 program takes a multifaceted approach aimed at educating the public about the realities and dangers of what can happen when bad decisions are made inside a motor vehicle. Don't hesitate to designate. If you are a tracker series that would like to be highlighted on Race Pro Weekly, email us at show@raceproweekly.com. Held over limited sportsman feature event from a couple of weeks ago got the night started at the Albany-Saratoga Speedway with Emily Quinn, your early race leader. Colin Bokus would be on the move, including the 856 of Pete Jeske right to the side of him as well, as Bokus would make a bid underneath your race leader, the 7 of Quinn, as they made their way down the back straightaway towards the closing stages of the event. Bogus would take the race lead in turn number 3 and 4, but then it would be Pete Jeske who would make a move to the inside as Quinn pushed up the racetrack as he would take the number 2 spot away and set his sights on the race leader. Bokus uses the 25 of Bruce Schwab as a pick off at turn number 4, trying to keep in front of the 856, and he will do that as for the second time it would be Colin Bokus picking up the win in the Limited Sportsman. Colin Bokus would grab the win, Pete Jeske would finish in second, Emily Quinn third, Zach Dorio fourth, and Ricky Davis would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night, it would be Rob Yetman in the Dirt Car Pro Stock feature event. Limited Sportsman regular feature would go to Pete Jeske, and the Don Donza Light Street Stock division would go to Frank Monroe. For any driver, making a switch from a full-fendered machine to an open-wheel car is not an easy one. For Bob McGannon at Middletown, he made the switch right into the top division at the Speedway as we catch up with him on our White Flag segment this week. A couple years ago, you made the move to open wheel after several years in the Pro Stocks. What made you make the move?
Well, we had won a lot of races in the Pro Stocks, ran them for many years, and unfortunately down here, the Pro Stocks were, getting outpriced. Car counts had dropped down. I saw that, down here in Orange County, it seemed to be a dying division, and we opted to move on from that point.
Middletown has always been your home, and you run well here. Have you ever thought of venturing away from the hard clay for a regular home track, or is this home?
Well, on a weekly basis, Orange County, it is my home track. It's convenient. It's 40 minutes from home. We have been venturing off to a few different tracks. Hopefully this year we're going to hit Albany-Saratoga once or twice. We're trying to do Accord. We race Syracuse at the end of the year, and the past 4 years we've been going down to Charlotte. So we do as much traveling as time will allow.
You run both the small and big blocks here in Orange County. How does the 350A help you in your big block program?
Well, last year was the first year with the small block, and I really enjoyed it. I actually believe that running the small block and the big block both last year hurt me in the big block. I was really comfortable with the small block, and I tried to drive the big block just as hard as you could drive the small block, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted to.
How important is the team for your racing efforts?
Well, I have the same guys, and mostly, family, close friends. We've been doing it for a long time together, and everybody does what they can do. We get some help during the week in the shop, but when we get to the track, we have plenty of help. And it's a team effort for sure. Without them, I couldn't do it.
It's now time for our NISCA Performer of the Week, and it will go to Middletown competitor Chuck McKee with his 2 feature event victories in the big block and small block this past Saturday night. Chuck is now eligible for the NISCA Performer of the Year award given out at the end of the season. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online, www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So for myself, Matt Knowles, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, Amber Chalmers, Dave Del Sandro, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.